Hi, and welcome to Noble Character Crafts. My name is Amy, and I'm coming to you from eastern Nebraska, where I live with my husband and our 5 children. Today is Friday, January 13th, 2023. A huge welcome to any new or returning viewers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you really enjoyed this episode. You can find me online on Instagram at Noble Character Crafts, and you can get in contact with me through my email at noblecharactercrafts@yahoo.com. I will have links to the places that you can find me in the description box below, as well as the show notes for this episode. This is a channel all about my crafty life, and today I have knitting and crocheting to share with you all. I am hosting a year-long make-along on Instagram called the Make 9 2023 Mal, and that's for you to join in the Make 9 challenge. I will have all of the details about that make-along in the description box below if you're not familiar with it yet, but it is so exciting to see all of the new Make 9 boards up on Instagram recently, and I would be so happy to have any of you join in that make-along. I am going to be giving away the final prizes for the Make 9 2022 Mal today. So just to wrap up that year's make-along, and I am super excited to give away some three more prizes that are kind of grand prizes for the last year's Make 9 make-along. So the first prize is a bag that I made quite a long time ago. I believe I made this back in 2021, this bag, and I had just made it out of some quilt blocks that I had started making a quilt and decided that I didn't want to finish it, and so just used the little quilt blocks that I had started to make a few bags, and this is the only one that I have left. And in here I have some yarny goodies that were gifted to me. And the first one is this beautiful, I'm pretty sure it's a self-striping yarn from Mint Rain hand-dyed yarns, and this is a 50-gram skein it's on a tough sock base, which is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, 231 yards, and this colorway is called Christmas Bauble. And then you will also be winning another set of mini skeins that was also gifted to me. This is by Sweet Georgia, and it's a Party of 5 mini skein yarn set. And here are the 5 colors. We've got Cauldron, Charcoal, Slate, Silver, and Snowfall. So these are each 28-gram skeins. They're 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And this is also, that's funny, this is called the Tough Love sock base. Similar base names. Anyway, you'll be winning those 2 yarn goodies. And then also I have included, so my drawstring bags, if you're not familiar, they have a boxed bottom, they're interfaced and lined, they have an interior pocket, and then I also include this lobster clasp with some closed stitch markers on it. I've also included one of the beautiful little progress keepers that my cousin Allie had made and sent to me. So this is just a sweet little star with a cute face on it. So that is also included in the prize. So this is all going together, and the winner of this prize is Karen, who is Dixie Loves Karen on Instagram. Congratulations to you, Karen. For all of the prize winners, please just get in contact with me either through my email or through a direct message on Instagram and let me know your full name and mailing address, and I'll be so happy to get these off in the mail to you as soon as possible. The second prize is a project bag that was also gifted to me. It is a zipper bag and has a handle on the outside. I love this fabric. It's so pretty. So this is from a lady that she had originally sent this bag to me quite a while ago and said hang on to it because she was trying to get an online shop up and running, but since then she has decided to not do an online shop, but I believe she's just doing maybe personal sales or something like that. But the company is called Mazer Makes Handmade. Here's the tag. And it's also beautifully lined. And in here, I have a sock set that was, again, gifted to me. And this is by Gypsy Soul Fibers. Such a beautiful sock set. The colorway is called Beach Bum. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and that's for the main skein. And then the two 20-gram skeins are 85% superwash extra fine merino and 15% nylon. I don't have colorway names for those two little minis, but just such a beautiful set, I think, and makes such fun socks. Or, you know, you could do whatever you want with it, of course, but it would be so pretty as socks. And then I've also included this actually, the bag comes with this little pole, which is very, very pretty. And then I've also attached another one of my cousin's Progress Keepers. This little cactus is so sweet, and I thought it went with the colors. So this is the second prize, and the winner is Sarah, who is 610 Pine on Instagram. Congratulations to you as well, Sarah. The final prize is another bag that I made, and I had mentioned last time that I had made one of these, 3 bags out of this special material that I had. And one of the bags went to my cousin Allie as we did a swap together. And then I kept one bag, and this third bag is the final prize. And it's another drawstring bag, although it's the medium size as opposed to the quilted one I showed was my small size. So anyway, this is a bit larger. It is lined with this fun kind of tie-dye material. Again, it has an interior pocket. This is another sock set. This one was gifted to me by Lindsay of Always Yarn First. And I had held on to this one as well as another sock set because she had said I could keep something for myself, and I couldn't decide which one of those 2 sock sets to keep for myself, and it was very, very difficult, but I decided to keep the other one. And so this is, oh my goodness, it's just such a beautiful sock set. I love the colors in this. It was so hard for me to choose. But anyway, this one is going to the final winner. It is a Hugh Loco and Grocery Girls collaboration. It's called Knit 2 Together Sock Club. And it is from October. I'm not sure what year. It doesn't say what year. But anyway, it is an 80/20 superwash merino nylon base, and the colorway is called Jet Setter. So beautiful. And you'll also be getting a stitch marker. This one actually came from all of the prizes that I had given away a long time ago, and I had this extra stitch marker that I had held back. So this was from Joy, another viewer of the YouTube channel, and she had sent over lots and lots of goodies a long time ago. And this little Progress Keeper is a Christmas sugar plum. I don't know if you can see it in the plastic bag very well, but it's so sweet. There you can kind of see it. And it was made by Simply Serving. So that will go along with this final prize, and the winner is Crafty Lena on Instagram. So congratulations to you as well. I so wish I could give away more prizes to all of you that have been participating throughout last year, and but I am just happy to be able to give away a few prizes. I am so glad that a few of you were able to win a prize. I had to go through the Instagram posts, and it said there were over 1,000 posts in under that hashtag. So anyway, it's really exciting to see all of the different people that are participating in the Make 9 Make Along, and I'm very excited to continue that throughout this year as well. All right, I have a few finished objects, but before I do that, I am going to remember to talk about what I'm wearing this time. I am wearing the chunky cardigan from this knitted cable Sourcebook by Norah Gaughan. And I knit this out of Knit Picks Simply Wool. I believe the colorway was called Wilbur, but I'm just going off memory there, so I'm not 100% sure. All right, I have a few finished objects. I was able to finish for the third time. This is the third time I have knit this pattern out of this exact same yarn for my husband. This is the Basic Balaclava by MaryAnn Davis, and I have knit this pattern so many times that I am kind of hopeful that this will be the end of the last time that I will knit this pattern, at least for a while, because I've just knit it a lot. So but it's a wonderful pattern. I really don't mind it. It's just, after knitting it so many times, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this pattern. The first time I made this balaclava for my husband, I made the extra large size because my husband has a very large head, but it turned out too large. And so then I went down to the large size and it was still just a little bit too large. And so this time I knit it in the medium size and it fits him really well. I just think that's really crazy because my husband has such a big head. So I don't know, he just likes a tight fit, I guess, for his balaclava. I also went down in my needle size, so I have a bit of a tighter gauge than the original pattern. I used a US 5 3.75 millimeter needle, and the original pattern calls for an 8 5 millimeter needle. So I went down quite a bit. I have a bit of a tighter gauge, but anyway, it is knit from the bottom up. There's an option to add this flared collar section, or you could start it about right in here for just the regular balaclava, but I've always knit it with this extra flared neck piece. The yarn that I used is Lion Brand Vanna's Choice in the gray marble colorway. I always kind of forget that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Yeah, gray marble, which is 92% acrylic and 8% rayon. And it is knit all in one piece, so you just knit in the round. You do some short row shaping here for the chin area. Then you put these stitches on hold and you finish up the hat portion. And the crown decreases, and then you go back at the very end and pick up stitches around the top here and knit a bit of ribbing for the face opening. So anyway, it is a great pattern. I really have, and I'm really happy that I was able to find this pattern. It's just been so useful. I've made one for each of my 5 kids and made a couple for my husband now, as well as an extra one for a gentleman that we go to church with. And I had mentioned that he had asked me to fix his so that his face opening would be just a little bit bigger. I had made the small size for him because he's not a big man. So I thought that the small size would fit him best, and it did fit him well. The face opening was just a little bit too tight for him to fit it over his glasses. So he asked if I would please just make that a little bit wider. So I ripped out the ribbing and I picked up enough stitches so that it would be equal to the number of stitches that are on the medium size face opening. And then I didn't have any more of this yarn left over, so I had to just use up what I had from ripping out the ribbing before. So I wasn't able to do as long of a ribbing. The original pattern calls for you to do 1 1/4 inch ribbing before you bind off, and this one it was about 3/4 of an inch. But that's just all the yarn that I had. But I thought that that would also help to make that opening that much bigger without, since I had less ribbing. So anyway, I hope it will be okay. I had my son try it on, who also wears glasses, and he could put it on over his glasses just fine. So, and my son is about the same size as the gentleman that this is going to. So anyway, hopefully it will work. I sure hope so. This one, as you can see, has a bit of a longer piece here. So I was copying one of his other ski masks that he had for a really long time, and it had these extra flaps. So I just knit the Balaclava 2 pattern, and then I went back at the end and picked up along the edges here and knit some extra ribbing with some garter ridges on the sides, so that he would have these flaps that will hang down a little bit lower. The yarn that I used for this one is Red Heart Super Saver in the Black Fleck colorway, which I'm pretty sure is a discontinued colorway. But they're both worsted weight yarns. The pattern calls for worsted weight yarn. So I was also able to finish these socks, which I'm so happy with how they turned out. I just think they're so beautiful. This pattern is by Kay of Crazy Sock Lady Designs. It's called Follow Your Path. And I have knit this pattern 3 times, but I have never knit a pair for myself yet. So I absolutely love this pattern. I think that these stitches are so beautiful. I just love the pattern. It's super easy to do and really fun and enjoyable. It's just a 4 round repeat, so it's easy to memorize it. And I just absolutely love how it looks. I think it's so beautiful. I knit the medium size, which is 64 stitches, and I did 2x2 ribbing for about 20 rounds until the purple colors ran out and it changed to that blue. I switched to the actual pattern of the leg. I didn't count how many rounds that I did. I just knit it until I thought it was long enough. Then, the yarn that I used is Knit Picks Felici in the Mermaid Tails colorway. And then the contrast mini that I used for the heels and toes is also by Knit Picks. It's from a Stroll mini pack, and I believe the colorway for this one is called Cold Stream. And this pattern has a Eye of Partridge heel flap, which I haven't done a lot of. It's not my favorite to make, but I absolutely love how it looks. And I thought that it, kind of almost looked like fish scales, and I thought it was fitting with the Mermaid Tails colorway. And this kind of looks like, kind of mermaid tails. I don't know. It just kind of reminded me of that. And so I thought that the Eye of Partridge heel would be beautiful with this pattern. And I'm so happy with how it turned out. I accidentally decreased to 30 stitches after my gusset. And when I was doing my gusset decreases, I decreased to 30 stitches on the bottom of my socks because I typically knit my socks with 60 stitches total. So I always decrease to 30 stitches for the gusset decreases. And I had forgotten that I should have only decreased to 32 stitches because I was following this pattern and it was the 34 or 64 stitch count sock. But I figured it wouldn't make that much of a difference. I actually realized it as soon as I did it, but then I was like, it'll be okay. In fact, that might give me a better fit on the foot to have, just a few extra less stitches on the bottom of my foot. So anyway, I followed the pattern on the foot, on the top of the foot still, but then I did add in some slip stitches for the ball of my foot, as I always do on my own socks to prevent getting holes in that section. So I just do a slip stitch, slip one, knit one, slip one, knit one across the bottom of my sock for 1 round, and then knit 1 round and repeat those 2 just on the ball of my foot. So for about 30 rounds, I do that to just give the ball of my foot a little bit of reinforcement. And then I did the rounded toe included with the pattern, and Kitchener stitched the toes together, and I just finished these this morning and I'm so happy with how they turned out. I think they're beautiful. I am trying to knit through all of my Knit Picks Felici stash. I have 10 more skeins to go through, 10 more sets of skeins to go through. And I have planned it out to knit 1 set per month. So this is my January set of Knit Picks Felici yarn that I wanted to work through. So I'm so glad to have gotten those done. I just washed these socks and they're actually still a little bit damp. I washed my socks in our washing machine, but then just lay them flat to dry. And this is the same pattern, the Follow Your Path socks. I had originally knit these for my daughter, and now they are too small for her, and actually my youngest son wore them most recently. And anyway, I can't remember if this was the first pair I made or the second, but anyway, this was also a Knit Picks Felici yarn. I can't remember the colorway name, but when I was making these, actually, whenever I had a color change, I was only doing knit stitches. I wasn't doing any of the purl stitches to give me more of a defined stripe in between the color changes. But I did not do that on these, and I was just kind of looking at these closely this morning, and I don't know that it was really, I don't know that it made much of a difference. It's not very noticeable. I mean, there you can see a little purl blip, but it's really not that noticeable compared to this that I always was careful to not do any purl stitches when I was changing colors, but I don't know that it made that much of a difference. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you those since I happen to just have them since I was washing them. I have another finished object that I already gifted, and I recorded a little clip of that finished object that I will insert right here. Hi, today is January 6th, 2023, and I wanted to record this little snippet before I took a gift over to my friend Tina with a finished object that I've made for her. But before I get into that, I just wanted to mention that I am wearing my Stripified shawl, which is a beautiful pattern by Stephen West. I knit this back in 2019 using a bunch of purpley colored scraps of yarn, all fingering weight. And I just absolutely love this shawl. I love the color purple, and so it's one of my favorites for sure. It's a nice, really big shawl, and there were so many fun different designs and textures in this shawl, so it was a really fun pattern to make. So the project that I finished was this headband for my friend Tina. I had recently made a headband for myself similar to this one, and she had seen it and tried it on and really liked it and asked if I would make her one as well. So I was super happy to do that for her. The yarn that I used is Malabrigo Rios in the Anniversario colorway, which is worsted weight, 100% superwash merino wool. I had maybe a month or two ago, made a neck warmer for her using this same colorway, but in a different dye lot. So I thought it'd be fun for her to have a headband that pretty much went with the neck warmer. It's not an exact match because the dye lots were quite different, but it will go well, I think, with the neck warmer as well. I didn't follow a pattern for this. I just cast on 48 stitches using US 5 3.75 millimeter needles. And then I just knit a tube until it measured 20 inches in length. And then to join it with this neat knot technique, I followed a tutorial online called Twisted Ear Warmer Crochet Tutorial, and it's by Crafted by Cat. I will link to that in the description box below. But even though the pattern that tutorial shows a crocheted headband, I was just following the instructions for how to join the headband to make this neat knot. And it's a super easy technique. You can kind of see, maybe if I go like this, well, I don't know if that's going to be easy to show. You basically just fold the pieces in on themselves so they're like sandwiched together like this, and then you stitch through all of the layers. And it's just like magic how it just turns into this really fun and I think cool looking twist to the headband. So I love how this one turned out. Now on the one that I had made for myself, I had knit it in 1x1 ribbing, but I decided that it wasn't really necessary to have the ribbing. So I just did this one in plain stockinette, which I just think turned out great. The colors in this one are so beautiful. And I love it. I hope Tina loves it too. This design, or it's not really a design, but this way of making a headband is so great because it just makes such a nice warmth to the ears. It just really provides a lot of warmth to the ears. I have thoroughly enjoyed wearing the one that I made for myself, and so I hope that Tina really loves this one as well. So I just wanted to share that all with you. My kids and I are getting ready to head over to her house for a visit, and I'm going to be bringing this over to her right away. So I wanted to share this with you all before I did that. So those are all of my finished objects, and I will go on to my works in progress. The first one is the only one that I showed on my last episode. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. I feel like I didn't finish everything I showed you last time. What else did I show you? Oh well, this is what I've got for today. Anyway, it is being held in a bag that I made myself, a scrappy kind of quilt as you go bag. And in here is a scrappy project, a new scrappy blanket that I have started. This is the Chevron Granny Ripple Blanket, and I followed a tutorial by Bella Coco on YouTube, which of course I will link to in the description box below. Last time I had recorded, I showed you that I had started this blanket after ripping out another scrappy blanket that I decided I didn't want to make anymore, and I decided to knit or crochet those yarns into this blanket. So there is a progress keeper here marking where I was last time I showed this blanket. So it's grown almost twice as much as it was before. It is just such a fun and enjoyable pattern to work up. And I'm just using scraps of DK or worsted weight yarn to work into this blanket. I'm using an H5mm hook, and I'm using the Russian join method whenever I change yarns so that I don't need to weave any ends in the end. And that works really well. I think that works really well, especially for crochet projects. I don't love the Russian join method when I'm doing knitted projects because it does make the yarn a little bit thicker in one patch, and I think that's a lot more noticeable in my knitting than it is in crochet. I don't think it's as noticeable in crochet. So anyway, I'm really enjoying this blanket. I haven't worked on it in a little while because other projects have kind of taken over, but it's just such an enjoyable pattern. I love it so much. And I am just using, like I said, worsted or DK weight yarns. Most of these are wool, but there is some cotton in here as well. So I'm loving this. Oh, there's a bit of alpaca in here too. But it's really fun, and it's just one of those projects that's mindless now, and I love scrappy projects. So that is that one. And then the rest of my projects are all new. The next one is being held in my bag that I made. It's similar to the one that I showed in the giveaway. And I had mentioned this project in my last episode that I wanted to start it. It is the first project from my Make 9 board, which is so exciting that I'm getting a start on it already compared to last year when I hardly made anything off of my Make 9 board. So these are some socks that I am knitting along with my cousin. We had done a swap, like I mentioned, and she dyed some yarn, some mini skeins, and also sent me a bunch of progress keepers, which I showed, and then I made these bags and we did a swap. So the socks that we are making are coming along really well. For these, I cast on 60 stitches and did a 2x1 ribbing for 20 rounds. I'm using ChowGoo US 0.2mm needles, which is what I used on the other socks that I knit as well. I forgot to mention that. And these are the 5 mini skein colors that my cousin dyed up, and I think they are so gorgeous. This is on a fingering weight 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon base, and it's really fun to work with. So we were inspired by a pair of socks that Molly of a Homespun House had knit up a while ago, and she had posted on Instagram. And I think she had mentioned maybe even in one of her YouTube episodes about how she made these socks, but it is just a slip stitch pattern. Whenever you change colors, you do 2 rounds. And last time I recorded it, I thought it was a slip 1 knit 1 pattern, but it's actually slip 1 knit 2. So I just started doing that whenever I changed colors, and you do 2 rounds of that slip 1 knit 2 pattern around, and then just do 10 rows. I'm doing 10 rows of each color, and it's just so enjoyable because, well, it's beautiful. I just love how it's knitting up, and it's fun to work through all those colors, of course. I've already gone through the heels. So I actually did, I kind of copied the slip 1 knit 2 pattern for the heel flap. Normally on a heel flap I would do slip 1 knit 1 also, but I kind of wanted to line up those slip stitches so that they would go with the slip stitches on the rest of the sock. So I did slip 1, knit 2 for the heel flaps as well. And I'm just working on the foot now, and not doing the slip stitches on the bottom of the foot, just doing plain stockinette. The colors are just so beautiful. I love them so much. Aren't they fun? So they're super easy and fun to work up. I love them. All right, my next work in progress is a crocheted project. I had shown this pattern off. I have made this pattern before. It is called Shell Done. Here it is. This is a free pattern from Hobby Lobby. This is a pamphlet that you can just pick up at Hobby Lobby, and you can also find this pattern online, so I will link to that in the description box. And I had crocheted this poncho for a family friend, and we went to visit them, and this gal named Eva, who I had made this for, had bought more yarn to make this poncho for a friend of hers and asked if I would please make it, and I said yes, of course. And the yarns that she picked up this time were the called for yarns, which are Yarn Bee Soft and Sleek. There is one colorway that's different than the called for, but the 3 colors that I'm using are Blush, which is what is called for the top color on this pattern. The middle color is different. It is in the clay color, and then the bottom color is the same as the original, and it is called Spice. These are all worsted weight, 100% acrylic yarns. It says 100% low pill acrylic. I'm using the called for hook, which again is a USH 5mm hook. And the way that this is worked is you make 2 panels and then you stitch the shoulder seams together. So I have done the first 2 color blocks and have just started the shell stitch with that spice color. This is made using treble stitches and half double crochet stitches here at the top, and you work into either the front loop or the back loop. And then this section is made using double crochet stitches to make a shell pattern. And these are US terms. So this is a super easy and enjoyable pattern to make as well. And I love these colors, they're so pretty. My next project is a pattern from this book by Stephen West, West Knits Best Knits. It is number 1 shawls, and I am making this pattern, the Exploration Station. I have never knit this pattern before, but I'm super excited to do so. So I actually showed off one of these yarns in my last episode as well, because I was planning on using this yarn as a contrast color for the next socks that I'm going to be making with my Knit Picks Felici for my February. I was going to use this as my contrast color, but I've changed my mind. This is Yarn Bee Color Idyll, and it is, I got it on clearance quite a while ago from Hobby Lobby. It's 50% merino wool, 30% nylon, and 20% acrylic. And I've used it for several pairs of socks, mainly as contrast heels, toes, and cuffs. And I have discovered that it does not wash well. I think that the wool in this is not super wash, because it looks as though the yarn is felting a bit whenever I have washed it. So here is another colorway, and I don't know if you can tell, but I've worn these socks, they're a bit stretched out, but it's just kind of, this yarn is just felted a bit, I think. Let's see if I have another pair here. Yeah, this one really looks felted, which is a shame because these were socks that I put new heels into these socks. But maybe you can just tell that the yarn, it's just felting a little bit. So as I said, I always wash my socks in the machine just with in a regular wash. I don't do a gentle wash or anything. And then I just lay them out to dry. And that yarn is just not holding up as well as I would like for my socks, so I'm not going to be putting that yarn into socks from now on. So the 4 colors that I have in this yarn are Magenta, Orange-ology, Neon Watermelon, and L is for Lemon. And they're all 100-gram skeins. I have actually 2 skeins of the Magenta colorway. I don't know if I shouldn't need it according to the pattern, but I have it just in case. And that's the one that I am using for the one that calls for the most yardage. I'm using that Magenta color. So I am knitting this up for a friend, and I think that she will really like it. I just started this on Wednesday, so I haven't had a ton of time to put into it, but it's just such a fun pattern to make. These are definitely not my colors. I would never wear these colors, but the person that I'm gifting this to, I think will look really nice in these colors. So it's really, I just love how this is coming along so far with these fun wedges. And then it has a bit of brioche in it. It has some slip stitch section, and then a fun, maybe you saw on the cover, the fun chevron shaping at the bottom. So I'm really excited about this. I'm hoping to get this worked up pretty quickly. I'm using the recommended needles, which are US 6 4mm needles. And yeah, it's really an enjoyable project to work on. It's fun to work with these bright colors because I just, like I said, I would never wear them, but it's just still fun to work with them, especially in the winter. So I'm enjoying that. Those are all of my works in progress. So I think that is all that I have to share with you all today. I hope that you enjoyed seeing the projects that I'm working on, and I hope that you all are doing really well. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I would appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care. Bye-bye.